The patient is convinced she has been misdiagnosed. She has been told this by 2 doctors, 3 websites, and one nephew who is in his second year of dental school. Thursday, 9:23 a.m. The clinic was supposed to start at 8. She has come, finally, to me. She has brought in a clear plastic envelope what she calls the evidence. The evidence is 6 lab reports across 2 years. She lays them out on the desk in chronological order, the way a detective lays out photographs. I have not drunk my coffee. I look at the reports. I look at her face. She is watching me the way you watch a man you are about to hand a verdict to. The first thing I notice is that the reports are not telling the story she thinks they are telling. The second thing I notice is that I am about to become either the 7th person to disappoint her or the one person who took her seriously. I read them slowly. I make small noises, which I have learned patients interpret as professionalism and which are, in fact, just me making noise. There is, I have come to think, a particular kind of patient who arrives carrying the story of how no one has believed her. She has, by the time she walks in, rehearsed it. She has told friends. She has told a neighbor. She has told, in extreme cases, a stranger on a flight. The story is, by now, a small object she has put in her bag, and she will take it out of the bag whether or not anyone asks for it. The reports do not show what the previous doctors said they showed. They also do not show what she thinks they show. They show instead a third thing entirely, which is mild and slow and easily missed, and which has been quietly sitting in the data for 2 years like a small, polite guest no one offered a seat. I tell her this. She does not speak for a moment. Then she says, "So I wasn't crazy. No. So they missed it. They didn't look the right way. But you saw it." I want to tell her that any reasonable person looking carefully would have seen it. I want to tell her I am not the genius she now suspects I am, that 2 of the previous doctors are competent people who had a busy clinic that day, that the difference between missing something and catching it is sometimes 17 seconds of attention. I do not tell her any of this. She is going to tell the story for the rest of her life. In her telling, it will be about a doctor who finally listened. I am, today, that doctor. Tomorrow, somewhere else, I will be a doctor who missed something. That is the trade. I write the plan. I order the next test. I send her home with a follow-up in 3 weeks. She will, in 3 weeks, be slightly disappointed that the treatment is boring. It mostly is. She will, in 6 months, be telling someone at a wedding that she nearly went undiagnosed forever. The story will, by then, have grown. Stories do. 11:39 a.m. The patient is a woman in her 30s. Her husband has booked the appointment. He sits beside her with the kind of small notebook people bring when they have decided, in advance, what the doctor is going to say. She's been tired, he says, for about a year. We think it might be her hormones. She says nothing. I ask her what she has been feeling. I ask the question to her, not to him. She looks at the floor. He answers. I do not interrupt him. I let him talk. He is the kind of man who has not been listened to in his own life and has, with no malice, decided to do the listening for both of them. He tells me about her sleep, her energy, her appetite, the time she fell asleep at the table at her cousin's birthday, the night she cried in the car for no reason he could identify. She watches her shoes through all of it. When he stops, I look at her. I wait. She says, I'm fine. I do not believe her. I do not say so. I order a small panel of tests. I write down follow-up in 4 weeks. I add at the bottom, alone if possible, and I underline it twice. Her husband does not see the underline. He thanks me. He gathers their bag. She follows him out, and at the door she turns, just for a second, and looks at me. The look is not gratitude. It is something quieter than that. The look of a person who has noticed that one other person in the room noticed. At 1 p.m. I sit at the desk. The detective patient has, by now, told 4 people about me. The quiet patient has gone home and is, somewhere, washing dishes. I think about how thin the line is between a doctor who is paying attention and a doctor who has, on a particular day, a slightly longer attention span. between a patient who says everything and a patient who says nothing. One of them has come because she wanted to be the kind of patient who is finally heard. The other has come because her husband decided it was time. Neither of them, in any honest sense, will have their day fully resolved by the time they leave the building. The day, in any honest sense, is rarely fully resolved by the time anyone leaves the building. The plan continues. The follow-up is written. The room is reset. The next person comes in. The reports on the desk look the same. The patient in the chair never does. The coffee is finally cool. I drink it anyway. The afternoon clinic begins at 2.